In this session, certain nutritional disorders are discussed. And the nutritional disorders which is discussed in this session includes malnutrition and overnutrition. So in malnutrition, there is undernutrition such as protein energy malnutrition, mineral deficiencies. Then in overnutrition, there is obesity and overweight. So malnutrition can be classified into two: undernutrition and overnutrition. Undernutrition examples are protein energy malnutrition, mineral deficiencies. And examples for overnutrition are obesity and overweight. And under protein energy malnutrition, two malnutrition disorders are discussed, that is marasmus and kwashiorkor. Under mineral deficiencies, calcium deficiency, hypocalcemia, iron deficiency, anemia, iodine deficiency, goiter are discussed. In overnutrition, overweight and obesity are discussed, of which obesity is of two types, that is android obesity and gynoid obesity. So these are the various subtopics which are discussed under nutritional disorders. So first, about malnutrition. Malnutrition, it is a state of poor nutrition, and it results from insufficient, excessive or unbalanced diet. So poor absorption of food or excessive loss of essential nutrients results in malnutrition. And there is nutritional insufficiency which results in undernutrition, or there is excessive nutrition which results in overnutrition. And healthy diet is very essential to prevent malnutrition. Major causes of malnutrition are wrong food habits, starvation, vitamin deficiency, defective digestion, defective absorption, poverty, political problems, natural disasters or war. So malnutrition, it is a state of poor nutrition, and it can result from insufficient diet or excessive diet or an unbalanced diet. So in malnutrition there is poor absorption of food, or there is excessive loss of essential food nutrients in the body. And this nutritional insufficiency results in undernutrition. There is also another form of malnutrition known as excessive nutrition, which results in overnutrition. And so healthy diet is very essential to prevent malnutrition. So under malnutrition there is undernutrition and overnutrition. Both are forms of malnutrition. Undernutrition as well as overnutrition or excessive nutrition. So first one, protein energy malnutrition. There are several disorders associated with protein energy malnutrition, and this is associated with inadequate intake of proteins as well as energy. So what is meant by energy? That is intake of carbohydrates and fats, which are the main energy providers to the body. And this is the most common malnutrition. That is, protein energy malnutrition is the most common malnutrition, and two common forms are marasmus and kwashiorkor. So the examples of protein energy malnutrition discussed here is marasmus and kwashiorkor. So this is the image of a child with marasmus in Nepal, 1972. So about marasmus, it is an inadequate intake of both protein and energy, and mainly seen in children. The symptoms of marasmus are retarded growth, wasted appearance, depletion of subcutaneous fat, physical weakness, loose skin, sunken eyes, thin face and limbs, loss of weight. And if this condition is prolonged, the child will be permanently stunted physically and mentally. The growth will be stunted physically and mentally. And some of the causative factors of marasmus are maternal malnutrition, maternal anemia, parental ignorance, poverty, pathological conditions in a baby such as diarrhea, pneumonia, cyanotic heart disease. In cyanotic heart diseases, the deoxygenated blood will move into the systemic circulation without entering into the lung for reoxygenation. So the oxygenated blood will be mixed up with deoxygenated blood in the systemic circulation. Such type of diseases are known as cyanotic heart diseases. Then malaria, necrotizing enterocolitis. In necrotizing enterocolitis, the stomach as well as the intestinal area, mainly the stomach, there the cells will become necrotic and the stomach will be degenerating slowly. That is necrotizing enterocolitis. Then there is pyloric stenosis. Pyloric stenosis means the stomach, in certain parts of the stomach, mostly in the distal part of the stomach, there will be thinning of the stomach. Then lactose intolerance, that is a disorder associated with absorption of milk proteins, milk sugars. Then intersusception. Intersusception is certain parts of the intestine will get inserted into the intestine. A part of the intestine that will get inserted into the intestine itself. Okay, that is intersusception. Then meningitis. Meningitis, when there is meningitis, the child will be absorbing nutrients at a poor level. Then next about kwashiorkor. It is one of the many children with kwashiorkor in relief camps during Biafra War. Biafra War is a Nigerian civil war. So at the time of war, you can see one child with kwashiorkor. So kwashiorkor, it is inadequate intake of protein with adequate intake of energy. There is adequate intake of energy, but the protein intake is very low, or it is absent, or it is very low to the level of nil. And it is common among the children of African nations where corn is the staple diet. And this corn, it is deficient in tryptophan, and that can be one reason for the occurrence of kwashiorkor in the children. And symptoms of this disorder is plump appearance due to edema, dry and brittle hair, dermatitis, depigmented, dry and wrinkled skin, bulging of eyes, diarrhea, loss of appetite, anemia, retarded growth, and there will be decreased resistance to different infections also. And so this kwashiorkor, it is a form of severe protein malnutrition characterized by edema and an enlarged liver with fatty infiltrates. Next about mineral deficiencies. So about minerals, we already studied about minerals in the previous sessions. So minerals, it is required in very small quantities, and the absence or its deficiency can cause malfunctioning of metabolic activities, and that will result in deficiency diseases. Examples that are discussed here is calcium deficiency, iron deficiency, iodine deficiency. So about minerals, they assist in body functions, various body functions. It is important in the production of energy. It is important for growth and healing of the body. It is essential for the fluid balance in the body, ionic balance of the body. Then it is important for the blood and bone development. Iron is required in blood, and calcium and phosphorus required in bone. Important in function of nervous system. It is many of the ions are involved in nerve excitability of nerves. So it is important in the function of nervous system. It is important for the functioning of muscles. Example, calcium ions. It is also including when we talk about muscles, that includes heart muscles also. There it is very important, the functioning of the heart muscles. Many of the minerals, they function as part of coenzymes, which is involved in so many metabolic reactions. So they participate in most enzyme reactions of the body. Also it will help in assimilation and use of vitamins. So first about calcium deficiency. Calcium is the major constituent of bone as well as teeth, and it is also important, very important for blood clotting, excitability of muscles, including heart muscles. And its daily requirement in children 800 mg to 1.2 gram, and in adults 800 mg. And calcium deficiency is known as hypocalcemia. It is a condition in which there are lower than average levels of calcium in the liquid part of the blood, that is in plasma. That is a condition in which where there is lower than average levels of calcium present in plasma. That is known as hypocalcemia. And there is another condition known as hypercalcemia. Here the blood calcium level goes abnormally high. That is known as hypercalcemia. The deficiency of calcium results in hypocalcemia. And this condition it occurs rarely due to lack of dietary calcium, because calcium is present in various food substances that we commonly consume. So the lack of this the condition, the appearance of this condition due to lack of dietary calcium is very rare. And mostly we see this condition, that is hypocalcemia, due to vitamin D deficiency. Also, another important cause for hypocalcemia is hypoparathyroidism. So vitamin D, it is very essential for the uptake of calcium from the intestine. If there is deficiency in vitamin D, that will result in deficiency in calcium also, and in turn results in hypocalcemia. And the symptoms of this deficiency disease is muscle cramps, confusion, tingling in lips and fingers, paresthesia, tetany, numbness, seizures, and this can lead to osteoporosis also, that is fragile bones. Next, about iron deficiency. Iron is important in our body for production of respiratory pigments, hemoglobin and myoglobin. Then it is important in various enzyme reactions. It is important for the growth. It is important for our healthy immune system. And the daily requirement of iron in adult males is 15 mg and in females 13 to 18 mg. And iron deficiency, that will result in a condition known as anemia. And what is anemia? Anemia is low hemoglobin and reduced number of red blood cells. Low hemoglobin, that is known as anemia. If the hemoglobin amount is low, that will directly affect the oxygen carrying capacity of the blood. So there will be poor oxygen delivery, and that will result in shortness of breath. There will be pale skin, loss of appetite, and fatigue. Next is iodine deficiency. The image shows a condition which results from iron deficiency, that is goiter. Iron is required in trace amounts, that is 100 to 150 microgram per day. And it is essential, very essential for the production of thyroid hormones. And the best sources of this iodine is seafood and iodized salts. And dietary iodine, if it goes less than 50 microgram per day, that will result in thyroid that will adversely affect the synthesis of thyroid hormone, and it will result in thyroid hypertrophy known as goiter. Next, about another form of malnutrition known as overnutrition. So overnutrition, that is equally harmful as undernutrition, and most serious and frequent form is excessive energy consumption. Excessive energy consumption. So how this excess energy consumption occurs? When we consume food which is high in energy, which provides energy, that is energy as well as other foods, that is protein, carbohydrates and fats, all consumed in large amounts, that will result in overnutrition. And two common results of overnutrition is obesity and overweight. When this overnutrition occurs, in what condition? How can we explain overnutrition? When there is excess of body weight relative to height, then we can say there is overnutrition. And this is defined on the basis of ideal body weight, IBW. So overweight means relative weight up to 20% above normal, that is above IBW. Relative weight up to 20% above normal. Then obesity means relative weight greater than 20% above IBW. That is known as obesity. Next, there is a term known as BMI, body mass index. BMI is known as the expansion is body mass index. So it is a calculated number based on height and weight. It is equal to weight in kg divided by the square of height in meters. It is a measure of body fat based on height and weight that applies to adult men and women. So how we calculate BMI? It is equal to weight in kg divided by square of height in meters. And it is widely used as a general indicator of whether a person has healthy body weight for their height. And about the BMI ranges, if it is below 18.5, then we can say the person is underweight. If it is between 18.5 and 24.9, the person is in a healthy weight range. If it is between 25 and 29.9, the person is in a overweight range. And if it is between 30 and 39.9, the person is obese. So it is calculated as by weight in kg divided by square of height in meters. Next, about obesity. There are two types of obesity: android obesity and gynoid obesity. Android obesity is also known as upper body obesity or apple-shaped obesity, and gynoid obesity is known as lower body obesity or pear-shaped obesity. About android obesity, it is the accumulation of excess fat in the central abdominal area of the body. And associated risk of android obesity are hypertension, insulin resistance, diabetes, atherosclerotic heart diseases. And gynoid obesity, it is fat accumulated in the lower part of the body, especially around the hips. That is gynoid obesity. The other one is in the abdominal area, in the central abdominal area. Gynoid obesity in the hips, around the hips. And this gynoid obesity is relatively a benign condition. When compared to android obesity, it is a benign condition and it is commonly found in women. And about obesity, in when the body is getting fat, or when body is moving into an obese condition, it involves increase in the number and size of adipocytes in the body. Adipocytes are fat cells, and fat cells once formed is never lost. So when the person is becoming overweight or obese, these fat cells divide, that is adipocytes. It will divide as well as it will increase in size. It will increase in number by dividing, division, cell division. And this adipocytes once formed, it is never lost. So when an obese person is reducing the weight, reducing the size of the body or reducing the weight, what happens is the adipose cells, it will decrease in size, but it is not lost from the body. Once an adipose cell is formed, it is there in the body. It is never lost. It just increases in size and reduces its size. So when an obese or an overweight person reduces the body weight or decreases the size of the body, what is happening to the adipose cells is the size of the adipose cell is also decreasing. So this adipocytes once formed is never lost. So it is always good to prevent obesity at the first place. And so many endocrine disorders are linked to obesity. And there is also genetic factors attributed to obesity, to the formation of obesity in the body. So I close here with about nutritional disorders. Thank you for your patient listening.